Hello everyone, my name is David Webb and I made this channel to give you the best tips on writing and creativity so you can finally finish your book or have that creative career you've always dreamed of. Today, we're going to be talking about how to write a prologue. But first, we're going to answer a very important question. Should you write a prologue? In fact, that question is so important that the video should really be called, Should You Write a Prologue? So should you write a prologue? No. No, you shouldn't. My name is David Webb. Thank you again for joining me and get some writing done. Okay, that's not quite fair. Just a blanket overall statement of no, you shouldn't write a prologue. Chances are you should not write a prologue. Chances are it should not be in your book for a number of reasons. In fact, that should be the title of the video, 3 reasons why you shouldn't write a prologue. Reason number 1, it delays the start of the book. Obviously, we've talked about in past videos why chapter 1 of your book is the most important. It's your chance to make an amazing first impression on the reader, and a lot of readers won't go past chapter 1. Go see the video that I've done on first chapters. It's gonna be right around here somewhere. You do not want to delay this very critical chapter any more than absolutely necessary. Reason number 2, a lot of agents and editors are jaded towards prologues. They have a bias against prologues. A lot of them, upon seeing the word prologue in the beginning of your manuscript, will right then and there make a subconscious decision about your book. They'll lie and tell you otherwise, but a lot of them don't even know that that's what's happening. They'll say to themselves, they'll post on blogs that sometimes a book needs a prologue, but a lot of them don't really believe that. Reason number 3, people skip them. A lot of readers, upon seeing the word prologue, skip to chapter 1. Prologues have been ruined, and as such, a lot of readers just won't even bother anymore. You should be grateful that they're skipping the prologue and going to chapter 1 rather than skipping your book entirely, but a lot of them will still skip it. I wish I had research and data to back this up. I have nothing really but a consensus on Twitter and my 12 years experience as a writer, but yeah, readers skip them. They do. I wish I had evidence for you on this, but you're just gonna have to trust me. I mean, I'm wearing glasses, so I know what I'm talking about. So why? Why are so many people biased against the prologue? Because a lot of agents, editors, readers have that notion in the back of their mind that prologues are bad. Why? I'm glad you asked. Let's get to the real video. Okay, so prologues by themselves, well, they're not actually bad. You know, just because some piece of writing comes before chapter 1 doesn't inherently make it bad. People have a negative understanding of prologues because, well, writers have kind of ruined them. They'll see other books have prologues and think that they need one. They think that it's cool, that it'll somehow make the story better. To explain why there is such a negative view on prologues, let me give you 3 types of prologues that writers put in their books, thinking that they're helping the story, but are actually just hurting the narrative and giving prologues a bad name and leaving a bad taste in the mouths of readers everywhere. Number 1, they use it as an info dump. They use it to world build. I've already talked about this, guys. Don't put it in chapter 1, don't put it in a prologue. The beginning of your book, whether it's the prologue or chapter 1, it needs to hook the reader. And no amount of world building, exposition, rules about your magic system are going to do that. No matter how rich the world that you've created for your story is, if you explain it to the reader, it will not hook them. I don't know who needed to tell you that, but I'm telling it to you now. It is a waste of space, especially with today's attention span. People just don't want to see that so early on. They just don't. And if you're one of those rare readers who have to understand absolutely everything about the world before they read the story, trust me, you're in the minority. Number 2, it doesn't relate to the main conflict or the main character. Your prologue doesn't necessarily have to have the main character in it. In fact, prologues really shouldn't include the main character that much because they need to make a strong impression in chapter 1. They need to have that room to shine, that dazzling introduction that a prologue really doesn't have time for. But it needs to relate to the main character. The book is, after all, about your main character. And if it has nothing to do with the main character, it doesn't do its job along with every other chapter of the book, tying back to the main character and their arc. You also need to make sure it ties to the main conflict, the conflict that drives the rest of the story forward. If it has no relation to your main conflict or your main character, it doesn't belong in your book. It just doesn't. Number 3, the kind of prologue that starts the story fast, but then slows down dramatically in chapter 1, breaking the pace of your very critically important early chapters. The prologue, just like every other chapter in the book, needs to match in pace, theme, and tone. Otherwise, it's going to cause a disconnect in the mind of the reader. These are just a few examples of bad formulas for prologues that have given every prologue a bad name. In fact, there's really only one kind of prologue that I actually enjoy reading. Really, the only kind of prologue that I have ever enjoyed reading give dramatic irony to the story. Dramatic irony, of course, meaning giving the reader some kind of information that the main character doesn't know. Therefore, the reader experiences the story in a different way than the main character. Or, if it's done right, foreshadowing. Of course, only if the dramatic irony or foreshadowing cannot be inserted into the story by any other means. Only if it actually needs a prologue. An example would be The Sixth Sense. Think about it. It's kind of odd when you're first watching the movie to start with that scene of Bruce Willis coming home and being shot by a patient. It doesn't feel quite right. And for the two of you who haven't seen The Sixth Sense, I won't spoil it for you, but in the final minutes of the movie, you realize why they included that scene at the very beginning, and it clicks and it feels amazing. Of course, this specific example wouldn't necessarily work in a book because this does break the rule of having a fast start and then slowing down dramatically, but it's a movie and there are slightly different rules. But this is just an example of how foreshadowing could be used in a very powerful way. If you've gotten this far and you're still insistent on writing a prologue, I wish I could throw my hands in the air in defeat and say I can't help you. But that's not the point of this channel. So if you really want it, here's how to actually write a prologue. Number 1, make it interesting. This is a big duh. The entirety of your book needs to be interesting, but remember that this is your only chance to make a good first impression. Number 2, make something happen. If nothing happens in your prologue, take it out. Chances are it's an info dump. Just like any other chapter 1, you do not want to start in a passive state. You need to make something happen. Number 3, make it short. Prologues are bad enough as it is. Don't make it stretch on any longer than it absolutely has to. Get the reader past the prologue, get them through chapter 1, and let them enjoy the rest of the book. Number 4, make it the inciting incident. This could be a saving grace for prologues in general. This could be an interesting way to show your inciting incident, especially if it doesn't initially directly affect the main character. If it is that key moment that drives the entire rest of the book, again, I would argue that it belongs a little later on in the book. Again, don't wait too long, but you could use it as your prologue. But only if it doesn't directly affect or is driven by the main character, whose character needs to be established before the inciting incident. And number 5, make it into something that you can just call chapter 1. A lot of people will just recommend that you rename your prologue chapter 1, but you're not fooling anybody. Readers aren't stupid. Agents, editors are not stupid. But depending on how you wrote it, depending on what is in your prologue, you can turn it into something that you can call chapter 1. And if there is some critical piece of information that makes you want to write a prologue, this is what I suggest. Reframe it into a chapter 1. This is my subtle, sneaky way of getting in one final shot at saying don't write a prologue. And with that, that is going to wrap up today's video. If you've gotten this far and you enjoyed the content, please subscribe. You literally have no reason not to. You got 5 videos for the price of 1 today, which, by the way, was free. So, I mean, come on. Thank you for sticking it through all the way past my rants. My name is David Webb. I can't wait to see you all again and get some writing done.